It was December the 24th, the year 1900, and who cares? I was working late at the office, partly because I had a dozen cases piled on my desk, but truth be told, I was also avoiding a Christmas party I'd been invited to. See, Christmas had never really been my thing. At least, not since I was 8 years old and asked my old man for a Slinky for Christmas. Instead, he gave me a pack of smokes and told me it was about time I got a job. But anyway, there I was trying to fit the pieces together on a recent string of breaking and enterings. The crazy thing was, nothing had been stolen. No jewels, money, or appliances, nothing. In fact, the perp's MO seemed to be leaving things. Things all wrapped up in brightly colored paper and nice pretty bows, each one with an ominous note attached that reads, "Don't open till Xmas. Signed, SC." The guy seemed to be a professional, in and out of the house without any sign of forced entry, but the question I kept asking myself was, why? Like a busted abacus, it just didn't add up. Suddenly, out of nowhere, my door swung open and there stood some dame. She was a tall drink of eggnog with red high heels and even redder lips. As she stepped into the room, I could tell she'd been crying by the mascara running down her face. I tossed her a used handkerchief and asked her what the matter was, warning her not to get hysterical. She told me someone had broken and entered into her house. I knew right away it was another breaking and entering. I asked her when this had happened, and she told me it was only a few moments ago. In fact, the perp had still been in the house when she'd left. I grabbed my coat and the girl's arm, and we booked it back to her house. As she fumbled hysterically for her keys, I kicked open her door and stepped inside with my hand on the butt of my .45, hoping to catch the culprit red-handed. To my dismay, the place seemed empty, but sure enough, there beneath the tree was a pile of neatly wrapped boxes and that same note, signed SC. I did a quick search of the room and spied a set of black sooty footprints going to and from the fireplace. I asked her if they'd been there before, and she shook her head hysterically. As I stood there wondering what to do next, I heard a thud on the roof. The girl let out a hysterical gasp, and I ran outside. The moon was bright that night, like a shiny wheel of wet cheese. I looked up to the roof of the house and saw a shadowy figure lurking by the chimney. I quickly drew my revolver and squeezed off half a dozen shots in his direction. None of my slugs found their mark, though, because the perp was unfazed. I looked down for only a moment to reload my piece, and when I looked back to the roof, the mystery man was gone. A quick scan of the perimeter was all I needed to know he'd gotten away. I went back inside to check on the dame, telling her to call me if anything else went bump in the night. I could tell she wanted to kiss me, but the last thing I needed was some hysterical floozy throwing herself at me, so I split. I'd send her a bill in the morning. It was just past midnight when I arrived back at the office. I slumped into my chair and reached for the flask I keep in the top drawer of my desk. Instead, I found a small, brightly wrapped box. It appeared that my office, too, had been broken and entered. I inspected the package, looking for anything out of the ordinary. It seemed to be perfectly normal, so slowly, carefully, I tore off the paper. I opened the box, and inside was a small silver slinky, just like the one I'd wanted as a kid. Attached was a note that read, "Merry Christmas. Signed, SC." I never found out who committed all those breaking and enterings, and I doubt I ever will. But the slinky on my desk reminds me that maybe some mysteries just aren't meant to be solved.